Girl Sorority Incorporation. She is the proud mother of one son, Jared. Let's give it up for Miss Jefferson this morning. As she comes.
Good morning, Shorter College.
Good morning.
Thank you, Reverend Mary. That was a very good introduction. I thought you were just going to read what I gave you, but you added some other stuff. She's so nice. She's always nice. I'm trying to work on her to get her to be more like me, but she just keeps wanting to be nice. So that's my girl. Thank you. Thank you, Shorter College, for giving Child Development the invitation to be represented today. We appreciate that. Child Development students, say hey. Hey. Okay, all right. I have a sign-in sheet over there for my role, okay? We want to leave here today with you having a better understanding of how to protect children. And Mary said I only have 20 to 25 minutes. That is not very long. I am going to talk real fast. But interrupt if you have a comment or question you want to make, but you need to talk fast also. But I chose as a topic to kind of narrow child maltreatment to child sexual abuse. And basically we're looking at it today from the perspective of recognizing the signs that someone may be an abuser. Therefore, if you're in an occupation for child development, you recognize it, or for children around you, your family, your children, your grandchildren, and so forth. And so what is child sexual abuse? If you look at the handout that I gave you on page 1, it goes through a number of very obvious things that we know to be sexual abuse. Anything you do with or to or through a child that has anything to do with sex is abuse. But I also wanted to point out those not so obvious ones for those of you who are not in child development. Prostitution is a part of that, pornography, child-to-child abuse. Now that's one, and please forgive me, I have to have the water. My mouth gets dry. That's one that we don't always want to recognize. That's that family secret that people don't want to know what's happened. A lot of our families have secrets regarding children who've abused each other, sibling to sibling, cousin to cousin, any other relative or family-like person. And we'll talk more about that if we get to it. We'll talk more about how that happens and how to prevent that. Also listed is exhibitionism, voyeurism, language, sexual in nature, just expressing that kind of language in front of children is abusive. So who's abusing our children? And I'm going to start with one that really I need people to pay attention to. We need people to pay attention to, and that is mama's boyfriend and stepdaddy.
True.
Time and time when I read a story in a paper, or I see a headline in the paper that says a child has been sexually abused, also when a child has been killed, I said, which one, her boyfriend or stepdaddy? For some reason, when there's no blood there, it's easier to cross that line. Ladies, and this, I'm going to sound a little sexist, but it's not sexist, it's factual. And it allows me to sound sexual, I guess. So I'm sorry, to sound sexist. I didn't mean sexual. Sexist, y'all get that right now. Ladies, gentlemen, keep mama's boyfriend and stepdaddy from your children. So that means you may be a father concerned about mother's boyfriend or the new stepdaddy. So I'm not eliminating men as those people we need in there protecting our children. What I'm saying is everybody has to protect our children. Guess what? Sexual predators can be really nice people. They wear suits. They go to church all the time. They're in the choir. They're in the pulpit. That pastor you've known for 20 years now, he couldn't possibly do that. Yes, he could. Keep your young children away from possible predators. It doesn't mean that every stepdaddy and every mother's boyfriend is a predator. But we know that a lot of time, the majority of times, that's who's doing it. It's not the stranger who looks a certain way down the street, who you think looks a little unusual or weird, or it could be him. But what I'm saying to you is, it is so much more common with the person who has found his way into the home. And let me tell you another thing about predators. They pick out their girlfriends carefully. They know what age the children are, and they have an age preference. They know that there's not another person, man or woman, around to help protect the children. They know that getting into the house, it can be really easy, especially with African American women, because African American women don't have a lot of choices. We're a lot more desperate, and they know that. And so it doesn't take much to convince us to say, oh yeah, you're a wonderful man. You're just what I need. I need some help around here. They know that. One of our child development students at UAPB, I taught him, and he did some of his coursework, laboratory work, in our laboratory program, right there on campus. Moved in with the lady after he graduated. She had a teenage daughter, and that was his access to her. There are two things that have to be present in order for the abuse to occur. Access, forgive me, and privacy. Eliminate privacy. Especially when you've got an adult who has found your child or a child to be particularly needy of him or her. Pay attention to people who always want to babysit your kids for free. I'll take him to practice. I'll pick him up. I'm running to the store. You want to come with me? Now you've got 4 children, but there's only one who gets the offer to come with you. Pay attention to people who give gifts, sometimes expensive gifts, money, toys, time. It's unusual. One thing I found about Americans is we have really good instincts. A lot of the things that I was taught in my background in social work, Americans have a good instinct about those things. When issues come up in the news about child maltreatment, it surprises me how the large percentage of people who already know that should have been a clue. He should have known better. She should have known better. There's a very important word reflected in your handout, and that word is grooming. Child development student, tell me real quickly, what is grooming?
Grooming is getting them prepared getting them prepared for what's about to happen by making sure they're taken care of and giving them things that they need and want and fulfilling all their needs and really grooming them for what's about to happen.
Very good, Ashley.
Thank you.
On page 3 of your handout, we're going to look at grooming and we're going to look at red flags. And Mary, you got to stop me. I don't know what time it is. I have no clue. So you have to wait to me. Okay, let's look at the word grooming under step 3. Grooming is a calculated means with the aim of establishing a special bond with a vulnerable child, eventually leading to more access and privacy. It includes, but is not limited to, special attention, outings, and gifts for no apparent reason, isolating a child from others while in a group setting. There's a picnic going on and you and this one child have to be in a different location from everybody else. If you're a professional, don't create that kind of privacy even for good reasons. If you are a parent, pay attention to people who are trying to create that privacy. They're there to help the parent. They can relieve the parent of all kinds of duties associated with that child. Treating a child as if they are older than they are, excluding others from activities, inappropriate sexual language or behavior, too good to be true. Too good to be true. That's a red flag. So let's look at the red flags on page 4. They give lots of praise and attention to that particular child. Oh, you're so wonderful. You are so smart. Those are good things to say to children, but in excess or too early, you just met the child. Excessively generous, buys expensive, extravagant gifts or gives money to a child for no apparent reason. Excessive hugging, touching, kissing, wrestling, horseplay, or other accidental touching games. So they're grooming, they're slowly escalating the amount of physical contact with the child, even when the child is uncomfortable with such. They don't have the boundaries that they have, but it's calculating. They don't start out with full-fledged wrestling. We just do a little tickle here, little touch here, patty cake here, and it just gets closer. It just gets more and more intense. They spend time alone at their home, enticing them with the latest video, computer games, toys, gadgets, etc., especially a person who does not have children himself. Now, African Americans get really upset with me when I point out all of the dynamics of child sexual abuse that you can relate to Michael Jackson. I cannot say that he was guilty. I can just say he's textbook. Neverland, is that what it's called?
Yes.
Grooming. Grooming. The rest of us, the other pedophiles cannot afford to groom children in that manner. But that was just one big grooming. If he was a pedophile. Okay, I'll leave that open for you all. These people spend too much time. Think about coaches and people who work with children. They spend too much time, or they take too many opportunities to find children in places where privacy should be respected, where they're changing clothes, where they're showering, in the bathroom, invading space. The boundaries that normal people will give children, these people keep escalating, pushing beyond those boundaries. So if you become a professional to work with young children, then these are the kinds of things that you who are not pedophiles, hopefully, and there's definitely possibly a pedophile in the house. Also, look to your left, and then look to your right. One out of five of the people you saw, one out of five of the people you saw or you see has been sexually abused or sexually abused as children. Just keep that in mind. So where was I? How did I get there? Being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Not respecting children's boundaries. Those of you who have children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews about whom you care, give them permission to refuse to hug anybody. They own their bodies. This is what you want to teach them. So if I don't feel like hugging Auntie Debra this time, I have a right not to do that. Don't tell me what. Hug your auntie, hug your uncle. That's one thing we need to give them permission to say no to or to ignore. Also, we need to be careful with our family gatherings. Aren't they wonderful? In mine, they are. And you got a whole family full of people who you love, respect, admire. You don't get any closer than family. This is it. Watch your children during family gatherings. Predators may be older cousins. Predators may be your brother. You know, we have these family secrets and they get carried on from generation to generation to generation. And that generational curse of child sexual abuse gets carried from generation to generation and nobody speaks of it. You got that aunt, if you dare bring up something like that, you're afraid it's going to kill her or she's going to kill you. That's how, I look back at my mother's generation, there are a lot of things they just didn't talk about. There are a lot of things I could bring up to my mother and I just knew it was going to really upset her. There was some crazy folks in that generation, basically. But what I'm saying, some of that insanity gets passed on from generation to generation. So give your children the permission to say no to anyone. For a hug, a kiss, a tap, for anything. Give your children the information they need to protect themselves, especially as they get older. One of my colleagues in Pine Bluff said, and she's in child development too, she said, well, my daughter's getting older, 12-ish now, and I can't be with her everywhere, all of the time. And I said, Leslie, it's time for you to teach her to protect herself. You start that when they're down here. And when they get there, you keep giving information. You let them know the kinds of things that they need to be careful about. And you arm them with protection for themselves. And even if it comes down to saying no to a principal at school, the band teacher, we had that situation in Alzheimer, where a young man, well, the call we got, and this is back when I worked for SCAN, we got the call that a 7-ish young girl had gonorrhea. This is from the doctor's office. So, question is, where did she get gonorrhea?
Right.
she got gonorrhea from her teenage brother. So the next question in our mind is, who abused him? His band teacher, who quickly ran and got penicillin, is that what they used to, whatever you need to treat it, to get rid of it, he ran and got that quickly. It didn't keep him from being prosecuted. He thought it would. But that was a situation where a young man needed to know, these are your boundaries. This is what no one, it doesn't matter what the authority is, you can say no to behavior that makes you feel uncomfortable. Right? Reverend Mary.
So, just kind of an experience that I had as a young mother with my youngest son, who was a part of the band at his school, and I won't give the name so that as not to incriminate anybody at this point. But so my son was invited to the band director's house. I mean, the band director wanted my son to come and spend the night with him, along with maybe, a couple of other young men. Yeah, and I suppose my son must have been about 13 or 14 then. And so I refused. And one reason I refused is because I didn't believe in my children spending the night with anybody anyway. That's why I refused. Not so much that, but then I also said, son, you have to be careful of those kinds of things. And so, my son was so angry with me. I mean, literally, he was livid. And, but I did not allow it to happen. So, time went on, and my son graduated from high school. And wouldn't you know that one day, that band instructor's name was in the paper for molestation. So,
was that the same band?
Yeah.
It's mighty close.
Mighty close.
Very big eye in the back. I'm sorry.
Just to say, I used to be a foster mom for 16 years, and 80% of the kids that came in my home was molested. 60% of those kids was molested by females. I just want to put that out there.
Thank you. Forgive me for presenting the slant. Yes, ma'am.
Just like you said about things that are like forbidden to be talked about in your family, it's the same thing with mine. I have an aunt that was she was in high school, and she's a musician, but at the time when she was in school, she ended up getting pregnant. And she got pregnant by the band director. And she had a baby. Well, she has 3 other kids with her husband, and we were always told that those 3 kids' father was the first kid's dad. And it didn't come out really until I was like grown to find out that that wasn't really his dad, like the band teacher is his dad. And I don't know what the outcome was with him, but I've never seen him, never heard of him. Like that's something that's forbidden to be asked about or talked about.
I am, and thank you for your reminders that, what is it with band directors? I have 5 minutes, okay. There was, my son, I'm divorced. My son was about 9-ish, and my son played every sport. Lord, I'm glad he grew up. And so there was this assistant coach. He was always an assistant coach for every sport. Seemed like in every league, he was always an assistant coach. Well, he called one night to speak with my son, and then he messed around and called again for my son. And I'm listening to the conversation, of course, and I take the phone and I said, remind me what your name is. Well, Jody, why are you calling my son? And he said, he's a nice young man, and I just want to make sure he knows everything he needs to know about what's going on, practice everything. I said, do not call my son again. And so, and I probably said it a second time, do not call my son again. Do not make yourself available to my son as a resource. So when he got off the phone, I asked my son what the conversation was about and this and that, and I pointed out that sometimes men will seek out boys, and they like to seek out boys where there isn't a father in the family. There was a father in the family, there was a father in the home. And so he said, but I don't think he would do anything like that. I said, I don't need you to think about that. That's why you have a mama. I'm saying you have nothing to do with him from here on out. Let's move to my son being 21 and a student at UAPB. This same young man is in the same department, and a lot of people had to block they had a club, that department had a club, and I think my son was a president or something, and this young man didn't get something he wanted, and he became a real scary person with whom to deal. So any more questions or comments? We're married, and I'm about out of time. You said questions or comments? Yes, ma'am. Okay.
No, I was asking, would there be like a leniency being that there's a guideline of what you call grooming tricks or training guide for child sex abusers? Would there be any leniency like of a parent who maybe caught a person in the act or maybe wanted to retaliate in a way that,
In other words, if you call them, you're going to beat the crap out of them.
Oh, can you hurt them and get away with it? It's not legal.
would there be any type of leniency, like through the judicial system or any type of way be that they have a guideline of what will happen if you see signs and you still back away from it? Maybe you caught a person in the act.
And you did something to the person. The law does not protect you. Okay, so whether or not there will be leniency, I think that's more individual as to whether or not there will be any leniency. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you touched briefly on your son not having a father in the home. I wanted to ask you about known vulnerabilities. Do you think that there are stark vulnerabilities that predators seek out in certain children?
Absolutely. You mean, in other words, was my son more likely since his father wasn't in the home? Was that your question?
What vulnerabilities do you think would be characterized in children who become victims? Because one of them could be a father not being in the home. What other vulnerabilities do you think?
Oh, are there other vulnerabilities? Yeah, not, They tend to seek out children sometimes who seem needy in some ways. Yes.
No self-esteem.
Right.
I'm sorry, what?
No self-esteem.
Low self-esteem. That can be a vulnerability. The makeup of the home and how things are done. Is a mother too busy to even pay attention? Is the mother, I had a mother, back to my scan days, her daughter was being sexually abused by her boyfriend who lived in, and when a child's being sexually abused, we gotta protect the child. So either the child's got to come out of the home, or you've got to set it, or he's got to go. And that mother told me, this is the best man I have ever had. Mm-hmm. You take her, because he's not going anywhere.
I mean, and it's awkward.
The priorities can be a vulnerability.
So this young lady made a statement.
What's that?
As awkward as that sounds, that is very common.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is very
It
common.
is.
Let me tell you how common it is. It's not common for them to be that blunt about it.
Right.
But they will tell you that they're going to get him out, and you go visit in a few weeks later, he's back in.
Yes. Or they don't
So-
tell you anything.
Or they don't tell you anything.
Right.
Yes. But yeah, as long as he's out, she can come home.
Right.
But that's fine. He's got to go. I know he can do that. We had a mother, a colleague whose child was sexually abused by her boyfriend, and the daughter never said anything to her mother. until the boyfriend was chasing them around the city and bumping the car and doing all kinds of crazy things trying to catch up with the mother and children. And the police met her at a house of a friend, and it was while the police was there, this is a teenager, she said, and Mama, he raped me. She didn't even want to believe it, that her daughter was telling the truth. To let you know how sorry she was, pitiful, below standard as a mother. What finally proved that the girl was telling the truth, and this had been months ago that he had raped her, she went and found the clothes that she had on. They had never been washed, which is not unusual for that mother. Priorities make children vulnerable. Priorities away from the children. Oh, Reverend Mary, she stood up now. Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Talk about being made whole. My God.